Americans, really for everybody, every country, the fertility rate is plummeting because every country that gives women sexual freedom, women decide.
Exactly. When you allow women to select, you allow, and actually, even if you let men select, I'll say this, is you'll get a selection of those people, or you'll get a majority, and they will only want people with certain traits and people with certain qualities, and since they're the selectorate, they're the people who choose, they're going to exclude the people who don't fit that standard. And that's going to create a society with low birth rates. That's just how it goes. You sacrifice freedom, you sacrifice quality, you sacrifice a good society for the freedom of choice, and this is what you get. You get a lackluster, poor society which does not value the collective. It values the individual choice at the detriment of the country, at the detriment of the society functioning. And it's not even like they care specifically about the freedom of choice or the freedom of people choosing who they want. They care about women having the freedom of choice to choose who they want. They don't care about men having that opportunity. Men don't even get freedom of choice with their mates. They're kind of forced to accept whatever's handed to them because they don't really have other options. There's so many men who are unable to get laid. Maybe they just have poor genetics. They're not, and they don't have a wealthy family, so I guess it's kind of the same thing there. But it's a lot of people. There's more and more people that are incels, or people who I'm just saying incels as in men who are involuntarily celibate. I mean, you could be a leftist and be an incel, theoretically. People think incel as in you hate women. You can love women. You could be the most feminist supporter on the planet and be an incel. Nothing about incel is ideological. It just means you are celibate and you are an involuntary. You're involuntarily doing that, right? So an example of a voluntarily celibate would be somebody who is like a Christian and they're holding out till marriage. That's a voluntary celibate. You're holding out. Involuntary is like, I want it. I want some woman. I want some, fun time, and you can't get it. That's involuntary. Right? You can't get it and you want it, right? But the thing is that it's not a every country thing, which was my point of making this video. I wanted to clarify my stance. It's not an every country thing. It's a Western female selectionism, womanism type values which leads to this. This problem does not exist in Middle Eastern countries. It does not exist in non-liberal countries. Because they don't allow their women to choose to the point of hypergamy. They say, you're getting arranged to this guy, you are having my grandkids, you are continuing the family line, and that is how this goes. That's how I would be at my kids, at least privately. Like if my son says, oh, I want to marry some random woman that you never selected for me, or if my daughter said that, I'd be like, okay, you can do that, but I'm not going to interact with your kids. I'm not going to help you in any way financially. You're not living at my house. I mean, as a parent, you have a lot of power to influence the decision making of your family. And I feel like the problem with the West is that parents either don't care or they don't chuck their power around enough so when it's needed. We don't have this problem in Muslim societies, in Mexican, Spanish societies. We don't have this problem in African societies. Because they say, my daughter, you are getting married. This is not a debate. This is not a conversation. You are getting married to somebody I approve of. And you are having grandkids, and that is how that goes. There is no debate in that, and that's why there is no incels in Muslim countries, because everybody's arranged. There is no, spawn a kid in and then hope he wins the contest of champions, competes in the free market and wins. I mean, there's no none of that, because that's stupid. Yeah, I think the free market's stupid. Because the first thing people do when there's a free market is make it not free. The people who win at a free market game, imagine there's 5 people playing a game, and I win at the game early on. I get the most amount of resources. I'm then, as the guy who benefits from people staying down, I'm then going to set up factors or things in place so that my other opponents cannot then take advantage of my of the opportunities. I'm going to disadvantage them as much as humanly possible, as to keep any opposition potentially down. I'm going to ensure that they do not get higher employment. They are not going to get any high-paying jobs. I'm going to make sure that's a low commodity. I'm going to make sure access to them is limited via money, college tuitions, via having experience or connections. I'm going to ensure to my best possible ability that my opposition does not have the resources to outcompete me. And that's what's happening now. The free market was co-opted and stolen and taken control of so that it benefits them. Because that's the first thing you want to do with a free game. That's the first thing you want to do with a fair competition. You want to get in there and then rig it to your benefit. Like, that's the first thing you would want to do if you want to win at the game. That's why the free market doesn't work. The people who advocate for free market have ignore the obvious malevolence within humans. I mean, the whole problem with this female selectionism idea, I'm just gonna close it off here, is that it assumes women are choosing for love or affection. If I was a woman, I would do the same thing. Like, I'm not even faulting women. I'm saying you're setting up a system which isn't really going to work out in the way you think it's going to work out. If you give opportunity for women to benefit money-wise via, dating richer people, to benefit physically, maybe protection-wise via dating stronger people who have more muscles, or they have the option of dating some skinny twink guy who lives in his mom's basement, plays video games all day. I'm not faulting the woman for choosing that. I'm faulting the system for making that a thing. Because the woman is going to choose the outcome that most benefits her. It's not about love. It's about personal gain. And most people are going to choose personal gain over affection. That's the reality of it. The idea with the reason to give women freedom of selection was so they could choose who they love instead of being stuck with someone they don't. But the reality is, women will choose people they absolutely despise and dislike solely because it's a beneficial choice in some other means, be it money, be it protection, physical. That's just the thing. I mean, if I was a woman and I was in the position of a selector, that's what I would do too. You know what I mean? Like, if I was in the position where I could select an outcome, which might not make me happy in the short term, but it would make me happy in the long term, I would do that. And then you gotta think from a purely parental standpoint. Selecting a buff guy means better genetics for your sons, meaning they have a better chance of then dating some woman and having kids themselves. And not to mention, having a buff guy at the house is a great protection against intruders, against would-be robbers. I mean, I'm more likely to rob a skinny guy's house than I am a buff guy. I'm more likely to rob a guy's house if he doesn't have a fucking big dog protecting it. I'm more likely to rob a guy's house if he has no gun. You know what I mean? These are factors people consider. And women select out of this primal urge a lot of the time when they see buff guys. Realistically, like, a buff guy isn't really gonna do much in the modern society. Like, it's all kind of primal instinctual, right? Like, think about it logically. Like, a school shooter guy, like a guy who goes to a school and shoots it up, a lot of those kids were probably stronger than him physically, but the gun overwhelms that advantage. My point being, women aren't really selecting based off, like, personal love or, like, affection. They're selecting based off, like, primal urges and personal benefit. And when you rapid hedonism and rapid self-interest consumer society, it's going to end up collapsing that society for the most amount of people and benefit the people who are self-interested. That happens in literally every case.